Alright everyone, welcome back to another Intel update by the S2 Underground. This is the brief for the 25th of August. This is being recorded actually at 0100 Eastern Standard Time on August 25th, so things might change by the end of the day, but I wanted to get this one out because a lot of the information that I just briefed in the last brief has now changed. So this is going to be a short brief, but there's some important changes I just wanted to highlight. So the first couple of bullet points are really ones that have not changed from last brief. I just wanted to throw these in there again just to remind anyone who's tracking this or involved that the Taliban is no longer allowing locals into anywhere. If you're a local and you're trying to get towards the airport, the Taliban will stop you. All foreign passport holders, unless you're a coalition member of a non-native of Afghanistan, you're not going to be able to get to the airport unless you really try really hard, and even then, it's going to be very difficult to get through the gate. Also, do not use the main gate. Everyone at this point is recommending to avoid the main gate, go for the Abbey Gate and North Gate, which I'll highlight on the map once again. This is due to the Taliban asserting their dominance at the main gate. They're stopping everyone. They're trying to clear the traffic around the main gate and around Airport Road. So it's still congested, but it's almost like normal Afghan traffic if there were like a bad accident or something. So most of the traffic congestion I'll show you when we jump to the map. Really, the biggest news to come out is the revelation, the public publication of the fact that the U.S. is withdrawing at this time. So it is unclear as to how many troops are actually withdrawing right now, but it looks like a lot of mainstream media is reporting that 5,000 U.S. troops will remain, 1,000 British troops will remain up until the bitter end, so to speak. But it is unclear as to how many of what role and things like that. So the reason that I mention this is because, one, it's kind of early. The United States clearly is trying to do their best to not upset the Taliban and get out of there with our tail between our legs as fast as possible, even if that means leaving a lot of Americans on the ground, which I'll touch on here in a minute. But the main reason I mention this is because obviously all of the Afghans and the thousands of interpreters that are standing around waiting for an airplane watched the speech live, watched Biden's speech live, and the speech caused instant pandemonium at HKIA and around the area. So a lot of what I just briefed has changed, particularly when it comes to traffic. But another thing that has changed is that the Taliban forces, which have been being pulled from the Kabul area, and pushed forward into Panjshir, they've kind of reversed course a little bit. Taliban forces are being requested from other parts of the country, from what we're seeing. Granted, this is kind of like rument of the utmost variety. It's all just kind of word of mouth, but that's how intel works in Afghanistan for the most part. So the Taliban are reinforcing the HKIA region so that they can quickly take the airport as soon as the American aircraft is off the ground, essentially. So there's a lot more Taliban on the streets, and the situation is getting a lot more tense, as one might imagine. Moving forward into this, we always knew this. We always knew since the start of this whole thing that this was going to get tense at the final days, and we're starting to get that now. And finally, pushing forward into the future just a little bit, we're not entirely sure what the Taliban's going to do about the Americans that are going to be left on the ground. It's hard to predict the future, and it is hard to predict even the regime stating that they're going to leave by the 31st. It's really hard to kind of believe that up until the point that it happens. But our job is to predict things out, and we're not really sure. We're seeing a lot of talks. Pretty much since the deadline was dropped, everybody instantly thought, well, what happens when we violate the deadline? Or what happens to the Americans if we stick to the deadline and we just leave people behind? What then? And we don't really know. It's not very clear from our side, from a lot of side. Now, of course, I'm sure a lot more informed people actually in the know with the tactical level intelligence that's going on the ground and the strategic stuff, they probably know what's going to happen. But we're not entirely certain. We don't know if the Taliban is going to stick to their word and say the Americans will not be harmed, or if they're going to do what we think they're going to do, which is very bad stuff. Now, let's just assume for a moment that the Taliban sticks to their word and any American that's left in Afghanistan after the United States military leaves, and not just in Kabul, but the rest of the country. Let's just say for a second that the Taliban honors their agreement and they're not going to be harmed by the Taliban. Well, they've still got to leave somehow. So getting home is going to be an issue no matter what at this point. Whether or not it's at the HKIA situation right now, or if it's after this whole thing is said and done, the people that are stuck out in the sticks in Afghanistan that can't really get to the major areas, what are they going to do? So even if we're just talking about the HKIA area, the civilian airliners that are stuck on the tarmac there, well, they're probably not going to be able to be functioned. Let's face it, any pilot that was on the ground flew their aircraft to Uzbekistan, and so they intercepted or they like either shot down or forcibly landed like 60 something aircraft just on the first day of this thing. So really any pilot that's left on the ground in Afghanistan is going to be few and far between. Also, we're talking maintenance here. These aircraft have been sitting there for how many days now, and they've been sitting there for a very long time, even before this whole thing kicked off. So they're probably not going to work. And your maintenance personnel, things like that. Your airport staff are the very first people on those first aircraft to leave. They're right there. They saw the Americans. They were able to jump on board quickly. That would just make sense, right, from a guess standpoint. So we don't really know what the Taliban's intentions are. We'll come back to some of those options, but I just wanted to plant that seed of everyone kind of thinking about what we're going to do once this situation is kind of over, but it ain't over, if you know what I mean. So let's jump over to the map and talk about the situation on the ground a little bit. All right, so here on the map, the main difference from last time is the traffic. So like I mentioned, I pointed out that there were a few different open routes, and some of these roads still are, at least by social media and people posting things. We're able to see that these roads are traversable. The ones over here to the west part of the city and to down south. But the biggest problem here are at the two main gates to get out. So this stretch of highway, this little stretch of road from the main gate to way past the ECP for the Hotel Baron to somewhere right about here-ish. Hard to say. This is total gridlock along this red line here. You can't get a car in there. If you're trying to get a vehicle in there, it's going to take forever. Foot traffic is also very, very thick right there. It's where most people are massed, so it's going to be very hard to get in at this point. And then likewise, moving up to the north side, the entirety of Russian road from the city all the way out to the outskirts is complete gridlock, all the way out past this intersection here, this traffic circle. This is all complete gridlock. Most of the people that are massed right here and at the bridge entrance across the sewage canal into the north gate there. So that's unfortunate news, and I just wanted to point that out because that's really critical for people getting out. This situation changed very, very quickly. Almost as soon as the video was uploaded, we noticed and we got a lot of intel in that indicated that traffic had instantly started back up again due to the speech, which was anytime the president gives a speech about something in this nature, it's going to cause a lot of panic for people. So that's just going to happen. And when you mention that, hey, we're drawing down troops, well, that just triggers this whole day one all over again. And just a quick update on the Northern Alliance situation. The fighting has gotten extremely, extremely brutal, and the people that we might be getting our OSINT from are no longer able to post things on social media. So that's leaves us in kind of the dark a little bit. Now, we have seen districts trade back and forth a few different times, but really the map is the same as it's been over the past couple of days. So no main significant changes on this front, but we're still watching it. And finally, I did just want to sort of mention again that we're starting to think about the future here, about what we're going to do once this whole shooting match is over, but not really over. If, and in the extremely likely at this stage case that Americans are still left somewhere in Afghanistan, if there's one American left, we're going to try to figure out what to do. Not like we here at the S2 Underground have a huge part in all of this, but I'm just pointing out that the collective we, as in the thousands of other civilian-oriented groups that are trying to help things, are going to have to try to do something, because the military at that point is going to be completely not even in theater. So really, there are really not a whole lot of options for getting out of Afghanistan, even in the best of times. So assuming for the moment that aircraft options are not available, civilian airliners are not able to fly out of Afghanistan, really the main option for a lot of people is going to be Pakistan. Pakistan has opened up a couple of checkpoints. So down south, Pakistan has opened up one of their main checkpoints again, the Chaman Spin Boldak crossing. Most people call it Chaman crossing. Down south, and the normal other checkpoints along the eastern side of the country, the few different ways in and out of Afghanistan along the Pakistani border are going to be options for some people. Honestly, not great options, but we're talking at this point, it's going to be a civilian version of SEER. So this is not exactly going to be ideal for anyone. If you are an American on the ground and you've got that, blue American passport, it would probably be a very bad idea to head towards Iran, because you're probably not going to leave the country. The other options that you have besides the distasteful options of Iran and Pakistan are Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. That's really pretty much all you've got. Some of the northern options are not going to be spectacular because the rugged terrain just makes it really hard to get up there. It takes forever to move up north. So if you're talking about a land border crossing up north, man, that's going to be rough. I mean, you can probably from Herat push forward into Turkmenistan, but again, we just don't know how border crossings are going to work after the United States is gone and the Taliban is officially the government of Afghanistan. Pakistan will probably be the best option. It just me spitballing here. It's not a great option, but you might have a better shot than any of the other places. Plus, the roads that go to Pakistan are a lot more traversable than some of the northern routes, which just honestly are barely survivable on a normal day. So we're thinking about this stuff. We don't want to give away too much just in case other people are thinking about this too. But we did want to throw this out there that, hey, we need to start thinking. Well, we needed to have started thinking many, many days ago once we did the math and figured out that it's not going to be possible to get everyone out by the 31st of August. But now we're having to think about these things now. So this is just kind of a warno that be prepared for this kind of stuff to go down. Even if we are able to pull off some kind of miracle evacuation and get just the Americans out, that will be a feat that has never been done before. And it's not looking super likely at this point. But we shall see. We shall persevere, and we shall definitely do all we can to get every single person out of Afghanistan. If we can't get them all, well, maybe we can get just one more. That's the goal, just one more. So that's really the update on that. So for those of you that are just tuning in now and you have not seen any of our previous briefings on this subject, we have been doing these intel briefings for a few days now, and we have a lot of products. So check out the stuff in the description. I think it's really handy, or it can be really handy for a lot of different things. And all of these different intel briefs cover something different. So, or really something that isn't present in any of the other briefs. So I try to make these as diverse as possible while still talking about the current situation on the ground. So hopefully that's helpful. Just wanted to point that out there for anyone else who has not seen what we've been doing so far. And here's this slide again. We're trying to share this every single time, just resources on screen for anyone who hasn't seen any of this information. Granted, there's not a whole lot we can do, but maybe this will help someone out. So thank you everyone for sticking around. We'll continue these briefings up until the very bitter end, and then probably afterwards as well if we think they can do some good to get some people back home. But yeah, this is some really heavy stuff, so thanks for everybody for sticking around. It's not easy to talk about, and there's really no way to sugarcoat this stuff or make it even a little bit less depressing than it is. but we're going to try to move forward through this, do the best we can, and we'll hang on that. So thank you for stopping by. Thanks for watching this far, and we will see you next time. And always remember, fight in the shade.